And of course, to me, it's very important to distinguish between the levels where full assent is needed to be given. Obviously, if any of us have difficulties with the Nicene Creed, we've got a fundamental threshold issue. But there are matters of prudential judgment where good people are allowed, as Catholics in good standing, to disagree. An example of this would be approaches to economics. I am certainly not mandated to follow any sort of socialist economic mindset. We all have that desire to help the poor and to recognize inherent human dignity. But my opinion is that without a doubt, the greatest system designed to allow for the respect of inherent human dignity and unleash that creativity that imbue our God-given talents, and that has afforded the greatest creation of wealth. Because remember, wealth is not carved up, wealth is created. Nothing has brought more people out of poverty into prosperity with food, clothing, shelter, medicine, transportation, education, religious and political freedom. I believe that a free market enterprise system is the only way to do that. I believe socialism is inherently evil and, as practiced historically, has been responsible for genocides with a body count of over 200 million in the 20th century. So there are some Catholics that may take a more socialist or Christian democratic European mindset, but I am an unabashed free market enterprise proponent, and I believe it upholds principles of both subsidiarity as well as solidarity, which are important parts of the principles of justice. And so therefore, I think we need to have this rigorous debate. We've got some tremendous Catholics, whether it's the late Robert Novak, who wrote Business as a Calling and Capitalism and the Spirit of Catholicism, or whether it's somebody like the Acton Institute and Father Sirico. So I think we need to have this robust conversation to build up the people and to help them in their daily struggles. Kyle?
You know, John, I couldn't have said it better than you did there. So I'll just add, the free market's the only market system where you as an individual can love your neighbor as you love yourself, with your own resources, with your own talents and abilities. I think that's the hard part of the free market, is that you can't compel other people to care for other people. It has to be you. It has to be your own resources. And any other system where you can vote to compel other people to do the charity you're supposed to be doing, it isn't really charity.
Well, I'll go further, Kyle. Here's the irony today. Obviously, I've always considered myself a conservationist. I'm an Eagle Scout. I was picking up trash and planting trees when I was 10 years old and haven't stopped since. But here's the truth. If you want to continue to tackle the problem of global pollution, it is the free market enterprise system of the West, particularly the United States, that has come up with the technology and the willpower and the economic incentivization to literally clean the planet in a generation. The United States basically has eradicated airborne pollution and trash and litter in a 30-year time span. Kyle, it is the former Eastern communist bloc countries, coupled with communist China and the former communist Soviet Union, hello, Chernobyl. My sister and her husband, when they were doing media work in Beijing, to have the Olympics being able to be played in Beijing, they had to shut industry down for 2 weeks ahead of time. And of course, the developing country of India, with another billion plus people to match China's 2 billion, those nations with half the world's population bring up the rear in terms of their stewardship of the environment. So I think if we want to criticize parts of humanity for not being keepers of the planet, free market enterprise should be praised and saluted. And it is the remnants of socialist thinking that should be condemned out of hand as being intrinsically incapable of dealing with the global pollution problem. How ironic is that, Kyle?
You know, John, I was just in Europe for a couple months, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show here, and it was staggering how many cigarette butts and plastic bottles and other trash items were just scattered about the streets of these cities that are significantly more environmentally conscious than the United States is. So I think there's a lot of pointing at splinters in people's eyes as opposed to removing the beam from your own.
Well, I'll take it back to Jennifer and to Laura here, because their setting always looks immaculate when we go to them live. And so they certainly know how to bring about a perfect television set, as Kyle and I scurry around to make sure that we're not leaving any deposits. Your take on this, Laura, and then Jennifer.
My take on which part? I'm sorry.
Just the fact that the free enterprise market economy sometimes can do so many things to edify.
Okay, sorry about that. But I got your moving around thing. But you know, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of problems with capitalism, clearly, but socialism is completely not of God. It doesn't allow for human, any human dignity, does not respect human life. God did not make each of us to be exactly the same like socialism tries to force on all of us. He gave us all free will. He made us all completely unique and individual to complete a mission for him here. If we're all the same, and the socialism it doesn't work with our faith. It doesn't work with God. Sorry.
Laura, that is beautifully said. Jennifer, how can we top that?
Well, having read several books like 1984 and A Brave New World, you can sort of feel it and see it happening. But the thing about socialism, that's, we talk about how, they're the homeless and the poor, but if you're going to turn everything into socialism, the government becomes dad, right, or big brother.
Yep.
And we will take care of our poor and our homeless, but they don't.
Right.
They run
It's not
out
about caring,
of other
it's about
people's
controlling.
money. And so the people who are having to give most of their money to the government to pay for all of these wonderful programs, they're getting more and more poor. They have to leave the state they're living in because they can't afford to pay the property taxes. Things that are happening do not help the poor or the homeless in a social justice system. It does not happen properly. You've got too much bureaucracy. Government is not your friend as far as helping you in life.
What a great 1-2 punch from Laura and Jennifer. And Jennifer, I liked your Orwellian reference, and here's why. Orwell started out very sympathetic to the communists that were ironically called Republicans in the Spanish Civil War. These were the communists that murdered hundreds, thousands of Catholic clergy, Catholic nuns, Catholics. These were just malevolently evil communists in Spain. And Orwell became quickly disillusioned with these communists, wrote that masterpiece, Homage to Catalonia. So we see this even with the great conscience of the 20th century, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, in his Gulag Archipelago books. So we have much to learn from some of these great authors. Unfortunately, our schools are doing a very poor job of teaching this, but one who does a very good job of teaching us to hew closely to the Lord, and going back to what Laura said, who respects life, is